Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. I'm Wiley, your favorite information scientist. You're watching the Wiley Report, where I talk about my experiences as a PhD information science candidate, a librarian, everyday life, and everything in between. How y'all do? How y'all feel? So today I met with one of my external committee members to discuss Chapter 5 of my dissertation. Chapter 5 of my dissertation is the Critical Technocultural Discourse Analysis, CTDA. I basically analyze Fag Talk and Hood Rat to Head Rap, the podcast episodes, and I had met with him June 1st and got his comments. I made revisions based on what he told me in that meeting and sent it back to him on July 6th. He was supposed to send me individual comments. I did not get those, so I just revised based on what I had, and we met about what I had done. Overall, he liked the direction of the work. He did challenge me in a way that I wasn't expecting, not in a nefarious or unkind way at all. He told me he wanted to know what I think. I know that might sound simple, but that's actually one of the hardest things that I struggle with in this dissertation journey. I shared with him how I've read and watched a lot of resources that talk about journal articles versus dissertation. I have 22 peer-reviewed journal articles written in my career as a librarian, and that has not been my experience. And it's really a difference in writing articles versus writing dissertation. And in reality, I understand it should be, because they're not even the same word. Yet, where I find the challenge is the dissertation is telling them a lot more of what it is that you think. I've spent a lot of years learning how to read the literature, how to cite it. I could tell you that I'm still learning how to synthesize information carefully, mostly too because my everyday career as a librarian is a different audience. Those articles that I wrote on data sharing, data management, data curation, they speak to a different audience that my dissertation does. I didn't extend my STEM work in my dissertation. I talk about race, digital studies, and intersectionality, specifically talking about Black trans men's digital information practices. So in thinking about, well, how does that relate in this journey, it's my responsibility to explain what I think, why I think it, and how my data supports that interpretation while I'm becoming Dr. Wiley. So it's like, wait, who's him? Who's him? Who he? I'm meeting him too. Yep. That's how it feels, and also learning to trust what I see in my research, learning to trust my voice, that I can share what it is that I think, and where do you put that? Because so much of this journey, they give you a handbook in graduate school, and yes, it does an excellent job of telling you about the coursework, the preparation for the coursework, the graduate college, how to formulate your committees, how to get through your qualifying exam, but it doesn't really talk about this part, in terms of the becoming of your scholarly voice, and how it isn't just, okay, yeah, I'm adding the findings, but I'm gonna tell you what I think the findings mean. And not just what they mean, how they're in conversation with other scholars, or where they even contribute something that is new. The culmination of all of those experiences. And maybe on some level, some parts of this process is not new to me. And I say that because growing up, my father was a scholar, a military leader, a pastor, a teacher. He completed his PhD focusing on alternative school education in 2000 from Georgia Southern. So in the practice of growing up with not just my dad, I grew up with a family of teachers, several generations of teachers. I think if you ask me, what do Wileys do? Teach. So growing up, he was always asking me what I thought and why did I think that, and being able to explain that about so many different topics. So, I was reconnecting with that thought when I was visiting my mom, earlier this summer, and seeing the bookcase of encyclopedias, the Iliad and Homer, and remembering how I had a book report, and it wasn't a written book report, it was an oral book report about Pilgrim's Progress. So I had to talk to him about Moby Dick. So I probably will win every trivia if there ever is a game or a Jeopardy contest where they ask about those two. I can answer all those questions. But the dissertation, it isn't just teaching me to think for the first time. It's teaching me to trust the thinking as a scholar, learning what that scholarly thinking is, and being able to communicate that to different audiences. in everyday language, not just in scholar speak, and I think, or not just in academic jargon. And I'm not being shady or malicious or unkind. Think that was one of the challenges that I had yesterday in breaking down the revisions for an article. It was like I was not an article, revisions for my dissertation. I was reading an article and I was trying to break down, okay, what does this topic, what is it, how does it contribute to what I'm talking about, and how do I explain that? Because the way they explain it, I don't even know what that is. And I think that's something new that I'm learning, or maybe it's not new, maybe parts of it are new, maybe it's the evolution of continuing to learn things or learning things in a different way. I can't call it, because I think whether you're a quantitative scholar, a qualitative scholar, mixed methods research, or even outside of academia, oftentimes even within librarianship, we're taught about frameworks, toolkits, best practices, strategies. Those are valuable lessons and skills. And the dissertation often asks you to expand that in so many ways that you probably have not thought about, which is like, yeah, true. That is what you're supposed to do, because in many ways you become the instrument that interprets the theory, that interprets and interprets the data, that tells what it means and why it matters. And that's the work. And that's the scholar that you're becoming simultaneously in real time. So it's a learning of you yourself, and I think sometimes in my own life, obtaining a PhD, continuing my education, has been a dream, has been something that I wanted to do, and it constantly evolved, and now I'm doing it. And it's also a version of me that I'm learning, because it's not just theoretical anymore. It's every day, it's here, it's in my face. I did the study, I've written about the study, and now I'm refining the study to make it a written, defensible record to defend, to get a defense date. And that's where we are in the meeting is, we talked about, well, I'm going to keep making these revisions. What's your schedule like? I'll let my committee know where I'm at. And the idea is to be able to send the entire document, which is 7 chapters, to both my external committee members, because like I said, the only thing my external committee member that I met with today has seen chapter 5, but we're talking about, in addition to, do you have any more thoughts on chapter 5, as well as what chapter 6 talks about? The goal of getting you to see all of it and to give comments on that and move toward a defense date. So it's becoming closer. And in that process, it's a journey. So many things have happened, so many experiences, and there's so many lessons to learn, and I continue to grow. And this also feels, consuming, deeply consuming. And you're also tired, and not tired to the point where I want to take a nap. Tired because I've been working on this since 2024. So that's where I'm at. Thanks for listening. Peace. Take care of you.